Good evening, gospel revolutionaries around the world. This is Michael Lilborn Williams coming to you from the Queen City right here in Clarksville, Tennessee. Thank you for joining me. It was March the 21st, the last time that I came to you in one of these little videos that we do for you, designed to last about 15 minutes. Sometimes I go over. But I had to go back actually and listen to what I had shared with you to know where to pick up. And no, I don't have my jacket on anymore. If you're wondering which was the last one, look for the one where I was complaining about wearing my jacket. You'll know that this is the follow-up to that one. As I was listening to that, of course, it just got the fire started in me again. And, there's that little video presents you with a choice. We're either welcoming you to the struggle or we're welcoming you to the rest. It can't be both. Doesn't the rest mean there's no struggle? Doesn't the struggle mean there is no rest? But you see, if you are trying to live by faith and by hope, welcome to the struggle, because that's exactly what it is. And Paul lays that out again throughout the entire chapter of Romans chapter 8, as I begin to look at that and look even past where we went. And Paul made this so very clear that the manifestation of the sons of God was a manifestation of the results of faith and hope. This is not something that we're waiting for, even as Paul said, for we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why doth he yet hope for it? What do you seeth, Michael? I see the sons of God. I'm not waiting for that manifestation. And you guys can welcome to the struggle. So what's the difference between those who teach the manifest sons doctrine? just threw up a little bit. The difference between being taught the manifest sons doctrine on how to manifest, and believe me, there's as many ways to manifest as a son as there are denominations on this planet. None of these guys agree with each other. They all think you're going to manifest in different ways and what that actually means and what you're going to do with it once you got it. What are you going to do? Rule the whole world or what? It is not a doctrine that explains that we are one. It is a doctrine that explains that you are exclusive and better than anybody else, or at least you're headed that direction. You're trying to get perfect. That's what the whole struggle is. So again, we are asking you to make a decision once and for all. Are you in it for the struggle or are you in it for the rest? Now, it took me the vast majority of my life in living in faith, belief, and hope, thinking that I had faith, number one. That was the biggest deception I ever bought into, is to think that I had faith. All I had to do was read Jesus' teaching and in several places about faith and belief and see that it was very clear that I didn't have any. Jesus said if you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, that you could say to this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast. Oh, Michael, that's this. No, it says what it says. It means what it says. And that means you ain't got any either. I've not moved any mountains as of late, and I'm not even trying to. So what are you doing, Michael? I'm at rest. I'm not trying to move any mountains. Not even the mountain of those finances. Not even that mountain of a bad marriage. Not even that mountain of children, problems with your children. I'm not trying to move anything. I'm at rest. You're not trying to move things if you're at rest, are you? I'm not sure how you struggle and rest. Paul goes into that in this chapter 8 a little bit later on. He says, tribulation, all of these things, are these the things that we are being moved by? And he said, no. He didn't say nothing shall separate us from the faith the faith or belief or the hope, he's already told us why in the world, if you've been saved by hope, and saved is a worldwide thing in this context, the word saved, please don't get hung up about that. I've got friends that they won't use the word saved at all unless they're talking about the redemption of the world, and we have people that won't use the word saved at all unless they're talking about the experience. It means both. It depends on the context that this is in. This, talking about the manifestation of the sons of God being a form of salvation, is not talking about a process. This is talking about something that we no longer have to hope for. This has already happened. And the power of this understanding should have us completely at rest. And, I watch these guys' videos, and there's a struggle. They're constantly in a struggle. They're teaching you how to do the struggle restfully. I'm sorry, it's just that funny to me. Because I gave it all up. They're all still trying to live by faith and trying to apply hope. And we've shared with you many things that the word hope actually means. And, Proverbs gives us some really good instruction that hope deferred makes the heart sick. Well, you're going to stay heart sick all the time because isn't that what hope is? It's deferred. That's why it's hope. Because something is, like Paul said in chapter 8, and for those of you that noticed that I did not give you a scripture or a Bible reference as to where I was reading, it was Romans chapter 8, verse 19 through 25. Rewind and go back and listen to the other one now, and you can follow through. I'm sure all of you knew exactly where it was. But Paul goes on in this very clearly and succinctly to explain that the power of this after the original creation, remember the Kitsis? That the original creation, there was original creation, but I sent the guys a little post. It probably won't ever make it on the Facebook, but I said the doctrine of original design, and then put chicken lips and hen's teeth. Selah. That tickled me so much. And I was telling Ethan about it, and he was like, "What?" I said, "Ethan, there's no such thing as chicken lips, and there's no such thing as hen's teeth." Oh, Selah, the doctrine of original design. It's powerful wisdom if you can get it in its simplicity. So we're not here to welcome you to the struggle. That's what every minister on earth is doing, is welcoming you to the struggle. If you think faith and hope are a part of your daily life, welcome to the struggle. We have welcomed you to what Christ welcomed you to and brought you into, is the rest. You are at rest. You don't know it because you bit into the lie of personal faith and belief and hope. The number one prescription for mental and emotional illness on this planet. Go visit a mental institution. I've been there. I don't have to go back again. I had a friend of mine who recently had a struggle with depression, and he decided to go in, and all he found was faith and hope and preachers running the place. Back 40 years ago when I went in there, they wouldn't allow people to bring their Christianity in there. They were trying to do something, scientific with all of this. And they really saw that Christianity was a problem. Now they've turned, all the mental institutions have been turned over to the Christians now. Why? Because mental health doesn't know what they're doing either. Why? Because they're trying to resolve a problem they don't even know what the problem is. Faith and hope. So who's got all the answers about faith and hope? Well, let's invite the Baptist pastor to come here and be the counselor. You wouldn't believe the stories that I'd heard recently from all of this experience with one of my friends, and they subjected him. The number one thing that he was suffering from was PTSD from Christianity. And what did they do? They took him in and exposed him to nothing but Christianity. That 40 years ago, that was strictly forbidden in a clinical mental health center. You could practice whatever you wanted to practice, but there was nobody, and somebody could be a Christian and be in a position, but they couldn't use it. And they were playing Christian music behind the desk. It's like, for my friend who was going through PTSD from what he experienced in Pentecostalism and extreme Pentecostalism and from every direction all the way through his childhood. I told somebody, I said, him hearing that Christian music coming from behind the desk, you might as well have somebody who was suffering PTSD from a being in battle and a mine go off and blow things up, and that's the concussion of that and the PTSD from that. I said, instead of playing Christian music, you might as well walk up behind somebody suffering from PTSD from those things and take a metal bat and slam it down on a metal desk right beside them and see what kind of reaction you get. Folks, there are people who are suffering from the PTSD of involvement in Christianity around this planet. If I could just possibly get you to make a choice today between peace and the struggle. You say, why am I struggling? Because you accepted the struggle. They told you if you believed, you'd get saved, that Jesus would accept you, that Jesus was standing at the door of your heart and knocking. We went through all that in the Revelation. We saw that for what it was. Now you're going to have to listen to the Revelation. But you did not know they said they were welcoming you to peace, but they did not welcome you to peace, and you know it. They welcomed you to the struggle, and you've been struggling ever since. And the only peace that you've gained is the amount of gospel that you've heard. Comment. Tell me what you think. The power of this rest is beyond anything that I have. Last time I told you I'm a 70-year-old man with no hope. And that's, that sounds terrible, but you don't know the peace that I have in my hopelessness. I don't believe anything. There's some things I know and some things I think. And I'll tell you what I know, and I'll tell you what I think, and I'll tell you the difference between the two of them, as I do. But I'm not going to tell you what I believe, because I don't believe anything. I don't believe the sun's coming up in the morning. I know the sun's coming up in the morning. I don't live in that world, that shadowy world, as it was described under the law. It's a shadow world. A shadow world that is governed by faith and hope. You see, if you are living by faith and hope, you are still living under the law. Regardless, you say, oh no, I believe in grace, Mike. I'm not under the law. If you're still required to live by faith and hope for things that you cannot see because you think it's about something about your skin being bad or not being able to get up easy from the couch, or you think it's about your health, or you think it's about your money, then boy, you've taken a direct turn that has been a turn into the struggle. Now, Paul went on here in Romans chapter 8 and then went through all of these things. He said, shall peril, shall nakedness. But see, if you have faith, you're not supposed to go through those things. But sometimes this just collides and we don't stop and realize how foolish we've been. Paul talked about all of these things: persecution, nakedness, peril, sword, any of these things. Shall anything separate us from the love of God? Faith and hope after the cross will separate you from the knowledge of the love of God. Let me say that one more time. Faith and hope for anything after the cross will separate you in your mind from the knowledge of the love of God. But Paul says, no, on all of these things, we're more than conquerors. Why are you a conqueror? Because you're not entering into the struggle. If you don't enter into the struggle, you're always a conqueror.